There are now over 500,000 recorded coronavirus cases globally. That's the number over there. And the number here, sadly, is the number of deaths, over 23,000. Now, sadly, that number is rising all the time, of course. And we know testing isn't readily available in many places, so the number of cases is likely to be much higher. Now, take a look at this tweet from the United Nations. The language here is really stark. We're at war with a virus and not winning it. And this is an interesting way they've laid this out. It took the world 3 months to reach 100,000 confirmed cases. The next 100,000 cases happened in just 5 days. The third took 4 days. The fourth, just 1.5 days. This war needs a wartime plan to fight it. Well, that was tweeted ahead of a video conference amongst the G20. That's the 20.
Americans have lost their jobs as a result of the crisis. More than 100,000 people in the States now have the virus. That's more than any other country in the world. Almost half of them are in New York State. From there, here's Nick Bryant.
New York, New York, the worst infected city in what's now the worst infected country. There was always the sense that this planetary pandemic would end up ravaging this global hub. And while there's a deceptive calm on its now quiet streets, behind the doors of its inundated hospitals, the crisis is getting worse. Emergency calls have hit their highest levels since the attacks of September the 11th. Hospital staff are describing a tsunami of patients flooding their emergency rooms. We're thought to be 3 weeks away from the peak here, and already they're exhausted.
It's been like a war zone, a medical war zone. I'm working with limited resources, with the constant disparities and pain and suffering that we see, not only with those who are afflicted with the coronavirus, but also those who are coming in for trauma. And so
the fact that it's such a melting pot.
We're so dense, we're so together, which is what makes us special, gives us that New York energy, gives us that New York mojo. It also, that density becomes the enemy in a situation like this.
In Midtown Manhattan, something we haven't seen since 9/11. Refrigerated trucks ready to store the corpses of the dead. Each one is capable of holding up to 44 bodies. And these workmen were constructing a makeshift morgue. America is paying the price for not being prepared, for not taking the coronavirus seriously enough when it was ripping through China, for not ramping up testing quickly enough when it first came to these shores, for losing precious time. Like the rest of the world, America is not just facing a public health crisis, but an economic emergency. Category 5 style devastation to the businesses forced to shutter their doors. Led by a commander-in-chief, desperate but unable to declare victory. Nick Bryant, BBC News, New York.
The U.S. has the most reported coronavirus cases in the world.
I've never seen a health crisis like this before.
In New York, the number is skyrocketing, now more than spiking deaths in just 1 day. Our station WNBC got rare access inside a hospital in the Bronx. The ER is packed. Patients with COVID-19 symptoms are isolated. Soon, this triage tent may be necessary. The city just sent 40 ventilators and dozens of more workers to Elmhurst Hospital in Queens. 13 deaths in 24 hours. Outside, the line of patients begins before dawn.
I don't know what's going to happen.
From a distance.
Representative teams to today's parade.
Okay, these are the imbeciles responsible for the world pandemic. Xi Jinping, more known as Xitlerping, so remember. Imbeciles, hijos de su puta madre. This is the imbecile Xitlerping. Remember this asshole.